Okay, if you like this video, subscribe to my channel, but let's get right to it. So I finally got around to seeing Greyhound starring Tom Hanks. Um, my wife and I purchased and upgraded our Apple TV to the version number 4. And when you buy an Apple product, you get a year's worth of Apple Plus for free. And what's very interesting is they just expanded it till February. So we get an extra 3 months, or 2 months, January, February. But I think that's because when their next season of morning show and stuff like that they drop in February, and that's when you lose the extra couple of months, and to try to get you to sign up. We did watch the morning show, the full season, but it's good, but not good enough for us to get Apple Plus again. The wife and I decided we're going to skip Apple Plus. But I did get a chance to see Greyhound. And, it was originally supposed to go to theaters, but because of the pandemic, it was purchased and aired on Apple Plus. I really enjoyed this film. Tom Hanks, I think, of course, he did a great job. It has a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. 93% Google users enjoyed the movie. It's based on a true story. World War II, U.S. Navy commander Ernest Cross, played by Tom Hanks, is assigned to lead an Allied convoy across the Atlantic during World War II. His convoy, however, is pursued by German U-boats. It's the Battle of the Atlantic, and so it came out July of this year. It was directed by Aaron Schneider, and it was a Sony Pictures, Playtone, and Bronze Studios production. So Tom Hanks is in the movie. Fantastic job. Stephen Graham plays Charlie Cole, his XO that's in charge of the ship. And what's interesting about Stephen Graham is he's from, I believe, Ireland or Scotland. I think it's Ireland. And he has a complete, hard Irish brogue. But in every movie he plays, if he played Al Capone, in this movie, or Boardwalk Empire, or, he played a mafia guy in The Irishman. He puts on one of the best American accents for somebody from overseas that I've ever heard. Better than Christian Bale, better than Chris Hemsworth, who is Australian but does American accents. Stephen Graham is just fantastic, and he played the XO to Tom Hanks, I believe, in the movie. Elizabeth Shue is in the film. It was nice to see her. I haven't seen her in a while. I mean, I'm sure she's working, but I haven't seen her on a regular basis. She just has a small part in the beginning of the movie before Tom Hanks goes off to sea. And there's a lot of notable performances of actors, but one stood out for me personally. Lee Norris plays the messenger. And Lee Norris, everyone knows him as Mouth on One Tree Hill, but he's gone on to do a lot of stuff. And he was in the original Boy Meets World. He did the Boy Meets World reboot. I always like seeing Lee because he'll pop up and stuff. I remember one day I just happened to be watching Gone Girl, and he played a police officer in Gone Girl. And I was like, oh, that's Lee. That's awesome. And so anytime I see him pop up in anything, it's great. I remember I had an ex-girlfriend who worked on One Tree Hill, and we went out to dinner once with Lee and Sophia Bush, and had a great time. And Lee is just one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your entire life. So anytime he pops up in anything, I just get excited. So as soon as he came up on screen, I didn't know he was in the movie. It just really took the movie up a notch. So the CGI was pretty good in the film. Anytime you saw some shots of the ship, it actually wasn't the ship that was used. The original ship was the USS Keeling, and the term Greyhound was given to the escort battle group ships that were escorting convoys of supplies, medical, and more personnel across the Atlantic. They were code name were the Greyhounds. So the USS Keeling was the ship in Greyhound, but what's really cool is they still had one, the USS Kidd, which is in it's a Mississippi River in Baton Rouge. It's a veterans memorial. This ship was the ship they shot a lot of the ship stuff on with all of the soldiers, because it's one of the last of those class ships that's kind of been maintained anywhere in the world, especially the United States. So the USS Kidd is where they filmed most of it. Now, they did the bridge area where a lot took place in the film was built on a soundstage and on a gimbal so it could tilt and things like that. But for the most part, they used a real ship, which I think is great, because with the CGI in this day and age, they can wipe out the background, you know, of where it's docked and put it in the ocean and have the ocean going behind it and the whole 9 yards with computer graphics. I think they did a great job. There were a couple of shots in the movie that were like, and you know, on something like this that's so heavy with CGI, especially with ocean, I didn't check the credits, but I'm pretty sure they probably outsourced to different visual effects houses, and sometimes some shots look a little better than others depending on the visual effects houses. But for the most part, I felt everything was great. The one thing that Tom Hanks wrote this film, which is great, and I wonder, because Tom Hanks collects vintage typewriters, and I wonder if he actually typed this out on a vintage typewriter first before he went and, you know, handed it to somebody to transcribe into final draft. I had a friend of mine who worked on John Adams for HBO, which was executive produced by Tom Hanks, and he met Tom Hanks on the show. He was an actor on it, and Tom Hanks wrote him a personal thank you for being a part of the project, but typed it out on a vintage typewriter, and there was some typos, but you can't go back and fix them. So kind of neat. He collects all these typewriters. So I'm sure he probably cranked the script out on one of those. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong. But it's a nice thing to think about. But for the most part, I thought the movie was completely solid. The only thing that kind of took me out of it a little bit was this German U-boat commander kept breaking into somehow their radio frequency and would taunt them like, we are the wolves trying to hunt you down, and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know if that actually happened in real life. Like, could the Germans tap into a radio frequency and start taunting on the speakers of their boat, or could the U-boats broadcast underwater, and it was the underwater microphones from the ships that were picking up what they were saying, the taunting. It just seemed like that taunting by a German Nazi U-boat commander to the Greyhound ships, destroyers. It felt great for the drama of the film, but I don't know if it's historically accurate. Sometimes these period piece films take some liberties for dramatic effect, and I felt like that seemed like it was done for dramatic effect, but I could be wrong. I'm going to do some Google searching and see if that was real. But other than that, I really enjoyed Greyhound. Tom Hanks, once again, just flawless performance. The guy, when was the last time you saw Tom Hanks do a bad movie? It's just doesn't happen. So if you have Apple Plus, please watch Greyhound. If you buy an Apple product, upgrade your iPhone, anything like that, you'll get a year's worth of Apple Plus for free. Make sure you check out Greyhound. The Morning Show is another really good show that's out there. But again, like I said earlier, my wife and I just have decided financially not to pick up another streaming service. So we're going to watch as much as we can on Apple Plus between now and February of 2021 before it goes away. But make sure you catch Greyhound. What did you think of Greyhound? Let's talk about it in the comments section. We'll see you on the next one.